And that
So
made
our parents left us to fail.
me sit here trying to figure out what the hell our parents was doing back in the day. Cause we ain't got shit.
Now, for real, as I get older, I'm starting to realize that I'm like, yeah, what did they do? Let's see what else she has to say.
Well, nothing that they gave us, of course. No generational wealth, no nothing. And then the same people that's so judgmental on the decisions that we made. But really sit back and think about it, y'all.
No, because I started thinking about it, and I was like, that was a generation. They had the best jobs. They had, you know, the unions. They also had housing prices that were affordable. I think my father bought his house. This is, when I was before I was born, and in La Puente for I think less than $50,000. You know, you know, and I think, or it might even be cheaper than that. I think he said it was like less than 30. So back then you could buy a house for 12 raspberries, which is crazy. Even though we moved my grandfather back from Mississippi to California because he went back to Mississippi for a while because our family had some land out there. Um, Part of our family is white and black, because we have the slave owner had split the land, so we had so much land in Mississippi. So he went out there for a while to live out there, and he came back. This is 1999. He bought a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in Fontana, California. Pretty good sized front yard. Big enough that, because he was a veteran, so they put a big horseshoe driveway in the front yard. Big enough to hold two, like, we'll say like ambulances, like the ambulance vans, like those sprinter van types. You could fit two of those in the horseshoe, and it had the straight part. So it was like a horseshoe, and then it had like a straight part that you could still drive a car and like another sprinter van on. Still had a good patch of a big square of grass. Still had the regular driveway that led up to the garage, so you could still fit two more cars on just the regular driveway. Pretty good sized backyard. Like, wasn't gigantic, but it was really big. We put a big shed back there. Had a big side yard also, and he bought that in 1999 for, it was 190 or 195,000. That same house right now is, I think when I checked the last time, it was right around like 800,000. It's not that many years from 1999 to now. The area hasn't really changed at all. So the prices have gone way up. Consider that, even from there, from 99 till when I was younger, um, my father buying it, house for, say, under $50,000 for about, I think the house down there in La Puente, the backyard was bigger than out here, but still less than $50,000, which is, it's wild. But they had the unions, the best jobs, had credit cards. I've never been able to get a credit card. So I look at them like, wow, like, 'cause even look at the movies back in the 80s and 90s movies, especially Christmas time. That was a thing. You see, them going into the malls, into the big department stores, putting everything on a credit card. Oh, put it on a credit card, put it on a credit card, you know, and they could pay it off. Look at the old shows, even going back a little bit farther, go, it's like the Wonder Years. But like, even like, back then, the Wonder Years, he was the only person working in the household. They still had a car. I think they had two cars, a house, in a good neighborhood. They're still able to do things. And then you look at even after that, Married with Children. Al Bundy was considered poor and fat. Poor with the house that he had, that was a good sized house. I mean the still shots, 'cause, I mean it's a show, but that size house in that neighborhood, it wasn't the hood, it wasn't the ghetto, it was still like the suburbs. And he worked at a department store selling shoes, and was still able to afford life, and for his kids to have what they needed, and Peggy to have what she needed. All these other shows in the 80s and 90s, and even early 2000s, it was like that. You can, one parent can work, and now it's like multiple people have to work, and then like we're all getting on the internet trying to figure out ways to make a little bit more money. So we'll watch the rest of this and see what else she has to say.
Nobody in our family rich. Now it's us, the ones that trying to make money off the internet, trying to make ends meet. Why they sitting back doing the same shit they've been doing for
Doing
decades?
the same things.
We gotta break this curse. We gotta do something. They really left us out here for dead. What the fuck we gonna do? Then you look up and they been doing the same shit for years. They ain't teach us about credit, no nothing. We out here really lost as
That's what I was talking about.
Pray for us. 2020 babies.
Crazy thing is, a weird thing is that my father lives far, pretty, a distance from where I live at, and my grandfather helped my father, and then my uncle get houses. My grandfather bought my father two houses. The one we lived in when I was younger, and another one that when they moved out here and they lived in La Puente. I think back then it was called, or back when they moved out here, I think it was like Fireworks Station, and then they moved a little bit closer, ended up in La Puente. And they bought a house. It was by Workman Elementary, where I went there when I was young for a little bit. And then I went to a couple of schools, and then we, towards, I think it was 96, 97, we moved out to the Inland Empire. So my grandfather always, because he taught my father, to help, to make sure, we all helped and stayed together, keep our houses. So he bought my father two houses. Well, bought one house, especially for my father. Then when they went to go move back to Mississippi, my dad was left the other house. And then so things happened. Those houses were sold or whatever. And then now, a couple of years, my grandfather passed. My grandmother moved to the area. Well, she stayed out in the Inland Empire. Then she moved farther in the Inland Empire, where my dad is, and bought a house out there. Now, because she was never really supposed to sell the house that we had in Fontana. It was supposed to be for all the grandkids, which I'm really the only grandson. But she sold it and she moved. She wanted to do what she wanted to do, and she moved up to where she was. And then so she left the house to my father. So now he had three houses left to him. So things got hard. I asked, so I figured, be able to help me. He ends up helping my half sister, which isn't his daughter. It's my half sister from my mom, and then my stepdad. But he helps her, does everything he needs for her. So now he has that house, and now he's buying another house, which he's never taught me anything about finances or how to buy a house or anything like that. I've learned things here and there. The only thing that he taught me, but it was demanded to him by my grandmother on my mother's side, that because she taught him how to do income taxes. So he taught me because he had to. But it was for the fact that once I think when I first got with my wife, we were both 17. So it was about the time I learned a little bit before that, but it was 17, 18. He started having me do the taxes. It was a 70-30 split. So he'd give me all his clients. I'd do them. He'd look at the numbers, make sure everything was right. He'd get 70%. and I get 30%. Sometimes less than that. So after a while, things weren't, he got low on money, and it's like, well, I'm gonna do them, and so then, but I knew how to do them, so I was like, okay, well, I could just do a few people on the side and still work. So that was really the only thing that he's ever taught me. Everything else I've had to learn on the way from other people that I've been around or listened to, or other friends, fathers, or people like that, acquaintances. I started listening like Bob Proctor, Zig Ziglar, things like that. So this is how sometimes I see how people we look at, us were like, what did our parents do? They had the best generation for everything. Everything that you could think of. Look at all the movies, Home Alone. These are the times, 80s and 90s, where everything was so accessible and money was flowing, and they dried up everything. And they have millions of dollars in assets because they were either helped or they were able to, you could buy a house. You could buy a house for under $50,000. That's not a lot. Most people make, what the average income of, especially black or African Americans, males in the country is like 30, I think it's like 32, 34,000 a year. So say your house was for 50. You can do that, and a car that would be it'd be easier, a whole lot easier. And say you get a little a side job or a part-time job, that's easily accessible to do. But now housing is 6, 7, 8, a million. Depends on where you're at. $1 million. LA, even LA Empire has gone way up in price. So, that's how it goes. We'll watch the rest of this, and we'll see what's left.
1899 babies, 1998 babies, 2000 babies. We gotta do better for our kids to come.